It is April 30th and tax season ends today for most Canadians, but for business owners, tax filing and deadlines can be tricky and sometimes a seemingly never-ending ordeal. For more on this, we're joined by Arif Nuraney, a lawyer specializing in tax and business law with the Nuraney Law Group. Welcome, Arif.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for joining us. So first of all, take us through maybe the most common issues you see when working with businesses during tax season.
Yeah, I mean, it can honestly range from a newly incorporated business that maybe just hasn't consulted with like a lawyer or an accountant or a bookkeeper, and they just haven't really kept accurate records, and now we're getting close to deadlines, and they're under the gun to make some very, very quick choices. So that's often when we get late calls in the 11th hour to come in and to hopefully try and save the day. What
kind of undertaking is that behind the scenes a little bit? What do you have to do to get that under control?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just a lot of forensics, basically, I guess, having a chat with the client to figure out exactly what has been going on, and then seeing exactly what their existing, structure looks like, and then seeing if we're able then to add some value, to add some complexity, and hopefully be able to get them out of it.
Just walk it back a little bit in layman's terms. How different is, say, a business's tax filings compared to personal? Like, what kind of other factors are you looking at? What other variables are involved here?
Yeah, so on the business side, we're I guess, often having to deal with, obviously, it'd be either one owner or a few owners, and then ensuring that we're working closely with obviously their accountant to ensure that, they've claimed the adequate amount of salary, that they, if they've also claimed dividends, that, it's all being done in really the most tax optimized way. So it's a lot of it's a lot of back and forth with obviously the client and the accountant and the bookkeeper to figure out, okay, have we got everything covered, and are they in the best position?
So getting into the weeds a little bit from a tax standpoint, when is the best time for a sole proprietorship to become incorporated?
That's a great question, and we're often asked that a lot, especially in our wills and estate planning as well, because if you've got an individual who's maybe starting a business or is looking to grow their business, they often would at that time come to us to have the company incorporated. Other kind of factors would also be is that if the company has issues with, I guess, a liability. So if it's a construction company that, maybe they are working with heavy machines and they're on sites that can be a little bit precarious, to be in an unincorporated entity is a lot more beneficial than just acting as a sole proprietor.
It sounds like that could be a rather complex or maybe lengthy process. What's the timeline on achieving that?
Honestly, on our end, on the legal side, we can actually turn it around very, very quickly once we've got instructions from the client and the accountant. But really, it's just a question of, is it at the right time? Have they reached maybe enough revenue for it to make fiscal sense? So those are the questions that we often have in initial consultation to see is really now the right time.
Right. And I guess finally, what are your top three, say, tax saving tips for small business owners?
Really good question. I say really number one is to try and utilize software as much as you can to try and track expenses, to also try and track your on revenue, to actually see, how is the business doing? Are we viable? Number two would probably then be to really lean on your professional team. So whether that is your accountant and your bookkeeper or your lawyer, to ensure that you've really built the right team that really understands what your goals are and can help you achieve that. And then really with the on the last point there would just be to ensure that you are basically putting aside enough revenue and also money every month to either either save or to remit early, so that you're not basically hit at the 11th hour with this massive tax bill and you just haven't really put aside and allocated funds properly.
Know what you're dealing with in advance. Okay,
yes,
great tips.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That is Arif Nuraney, a lawyer specializing in tax and business law at Nuraney Law Group.